Hey everybody, Mr. O'Donnell here. Here's your at-home lesson. Remember, we're calling it at home, not the off day. Changing that up. Hey, so welcome everybody. We're doing something different this time. We're going to mix things up a little bit with the all we've done is your own lessons and assignments, and we got a couple different things that we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about a project that you got that's going to go take some time to be able to do, family project. And but besides that, we're also talking about this thing too. We're going to be doing a group assignment. Aren't you excited? When teachers put you into groups and do stuff, you're only going to be really held accountable for your work that you put on this. So don't feel like that a partner, if they don't do their work, is going to stumble you along the way too. So don't really worry about that. And basically, the premise of this is we're going to be learning about special effects. I'm going to put you in groups of 2 or maybe 3 because we're relatively small. You guys are going to learn about these. You're going to be assigned one kind of a special effect. And then you're going to stand here in up in class, and you two guys will, the two of you will be separated, and you'll be pointing to the screens and talking about what you learned regarding that. I'm going to walk you all through this right now, but that's basically what it's going to be. You're going to be able to edit. You're going to have to be able to learn about something, create some. Tell us about it and show some examples. All right, let's just get into it. How about that? Instead of explaining what it is, let's jump into it. Special effects, ladies and gentlemen. First off, let's take a look here at music. Sorry, not music, magic. Yes, magic. If you notice, when you watch a magic show, you got to ask yourself, is this really happening? Is this person really changing the color of a card while it goes under this little ribbon? Of course, the answer is no. He's not actually changing it. So then the real question then is, as I turn on my laser pointer here, since the answer is no, then let me ask you, what really did happen? You witnessed something, and what you ultimately witnessed is being cut off down there. But what you witnessed is a trick, or a fancy word for a trick called an illusion. This idea of an illusion is the same that we see in filmmaking. Okay, we all know. Go to that same concept of the idea of are these actors really walking with a giant brachiosaurus? The answer, of course, is no. So then what is happening? The same thing gets brought up. Since there are no dinosaurs, what we're watching is an illusion, or what we call a special effect or visual effect. It's a trick, basically. And that's what special effects are. That's what we're going to be learning about in today's lesson. Here's the definition of a special effect: illusions or visual tricks used to simulate the imagined events in a story. Simulate means to pretend an imagined event. So we're not really going to be in a certain time, a certain place, a certain whatever. So we need to be able to trick the audience to make them feel like they're there, even though that they know that they're not there. We'll get to more of that in a second. All right, so here's your first break that you're going to do. I want you to pause me for a second, and you're going to go off and watch this and answer me 3 things. Here's the 3 things that you're going to do. One, this is a YouTube video that is basically, it's going from 1929 to like to 2018, and they're short little snippets, a compilation of all these different the Oscar, or the award that goes to the Oscars, are the awards that are given to the best movies every single year, and this one particular award that goes to what's called best visual effects or best special effects. And so it started in 1929, and what you're going to do is see a little bit from the 1929, 1930, 31, 32, 33, 34, going all the way up. And I want you to get a little taste and flavor of how visual effects have been around for a long, long time, and also answer these 3 questions. You probably don't know the first movie or the second one. At what point do you recognize, what's the oldest movie that you recognize? You may not have seen it, but what was the first one? They're like, oh, I've heard of that. Okay. Second one, what movie, and be sure to include the year on this one, would you say now is the beginning of what we would say a modern effect? It doesn't look old and cheesy anymore. This is like, okay, things are starting to look real. What year do you think that was? And the last one's just your own opinion question. Very few of the movies that won this award called best visual effects, very few of them won the best picture altogether, which means the best overall movie. Why do you think that there's a disconnect? The best effects rarely equals the best picture. That's just an opinion question, and you're going to write that there. Put that in your own opinion, couple different things there. Take a pause and watch that. Let me know when you're done. Well, you should have paused this. So anyway, now we're moving on. You watched it. That was sure interesting, wasn't it? Said nobody. But let's move on, shall we? Next here is another thing that you're going to be able to watch on your own. This is an interesting YouTube channel that I want to share called the Corridor Crew. And this is a group of visual effects artists. These are people who work in the industry, who do the job of making the effects that you see in big time movies, small movies, YouTubers, and all that sort of stuff. And they created this little YouTube channel where they basically watch and try to analyze, because they have a real good skill set to notice good and bad visual effects. So what I'm going to ask you on this one is, I got 4 to pick from over here. These 4 over here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically, it's these, a different group of these visual effects artists who are going to sit on a couch and they're going to cut back and forth to some of these movies and react to them, say what things are good and what things aren't. And here are the ones you can want about how they react to Marvel movies, how they react to this one, which is Lego Movie, a couple other ones, Interstellar. Hear them reacting to Star Wars. And this was an interesting one, how they react to the idea of movies that try to bring back actors who have passed away and using digital effects to be able to make them real again. You pick which one of these to watch. That's it. And all I want you to do then is, now you're going to talk to me. Too much of this typing and such. So here we go. You're going to click on this link right there. And it says, tell me what you thought about it. That's it. Use this link, record, submit. Should be about 60 seconds. Just talk to me. I'm the only one who's going to be watching this thing. So that's going to be, it's going to open up and it's going to say in your webcam, you just sit there and talk to me about, tell me, so, hey, I watched the, how they reacted to Star Wars. Here's my fake teenager voice. And I thought it was interesting because you would think that a movie like Star Wars, all the effects were really great, but it seems like they didn't like, and then start giving some examples of things. Be sure to prove to me by giving examples that you watch this thing. Okay. Don't go, I just don't want general, like it was cool stuff, like how they analyzed the effects and stuff. What else do I have to say? Okay, give me examples. Got it. So pick one of those and pause me. And we're back. And we're back. We're back. Yep, because here's the next thing. All right. Let's get into the project that you guys are ultimately going to have to do in this. Those other things were all done by yourself. I'm going to start leaning into this about the group project, about what you need to do. So let's talk about this term called the suspension of disbelief. What do you think those words mean? Think about those. Scratch your goatee for a second. Suspension of disbelief. First off, let's talk about that first word there, suspend. Suspend means to pause, to take a break. Think about if you get suspended from school, you're taking a pause from school, taking a break, to pause something. Now, what is disbelief? You may know to believe in something. Disbelief is the opposite. So what does that mean? So here we go. Disbelief means this: the refusal to accept something that is true or real. The refusal to accept that. Now, what's interesting here is we have 2 terms that are kind of both negative. Have you ever heard the thing, 2 negatives make a positive? So that's kind of what's happening here. So suspend is a negative, like stop something, and the other one's a refusal of something. So what ultimately this means, folks, is here's the definition of suspension of disbelief. So when the people in the audience know that what they are seeing on the screen is a pretend, but you're willing to accept what I see as real. This is important for every film that you watch. Even if it was my silly little scary movie, you need to be able to buy in and believe a little bit, believe the worlds that are being created. And if this is broken, then all things fall apart. And it's something really important. And I want you to think of it like this here. It's a bit of a, have you ever had this, your parents or whatever decide to be able to, have you ever heard that they put a kid and say, hey, let's make a contract? A contract is a promise between 2 different groups. I promise to do blah, 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 and I got to do all my chores for about 6 months. And then you promise to give me, I get a phone, an updated phone or something like that. Okay. Or you've been bad. So if you're on, what's that called? We're not allowed to do stuff. Grounded. Okay. But if you're able to do these many things, then the contract is you can get out of being grounded. So that's a contract. It's a deal between 2 parties. So here, the suspension of disbelief is important because here's a promise between that group, the audience, us. We promise to set aside the idea of logic and reality because I want to enjoy this. Now, this can only happen if one thing happens. The other party needs to do something. And who's that other party? This is the other party. The other party is if the filmmakers promise to make a compelling story that's going to keep me engaged and not going to make me question the world that they're creating. It's a little bit confusing, this concept, but I want you to. So here, I know I talk a lot about Star Wars. So here's an example of this. I watched the movie Star Wars. The audio just kicked out there, but it should have come up. And as I'm watching the movie Star Wars, I'm really excited and I'm into the world, and I don't really question things that I possibly could question, like the laws of physics. For example, as these spaceships are flying, these TIE fighters are chasing, the X-Wing is the TIE fighters are chasing this X-Wing. If I knew physics, I would realize there's no sounds in space. So when they shoot lasers at each other, pew, 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 or giant explosion at the end of a movie, hope I didn't give anything away, you hear a giant explosion. There are no sounds in space. Here's the thing. When I watch the movie, I don't really go, that's stupid. There's no sounds in space, because I suspended my disbelief to say that, oh, I got it. Yeah, totally understand this. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm into it. I'm not even questioning it. They created this world. They don't even have to explain it like, oh, our space is different than other space. You don't necessarily need to do that, because I've given that up. Here's another example from it. Here are some of the characters who are running around inside a spaceship where everything I've seen from space, there's no gravity. You float around. But here, seems like there's plenty of gravity in space. I never question a lack of gravity, because the story has made it believable for me. So can the filmmakers make believable stories? Then that's kind of the world in which that I live in. Now, sometimes it fails. So for me, like, I've suspended so much. I tell you, since the age of like 8, I've been watching Star Wars and I dug the whole thing. Filmmakers can go too far. Take this, for example. In this scene, Princess Leia gets shot out into space and dies, I guess. Wait, her thing exploded. She's in the middle of space, and then she comes back alive and then floats. Some weird force float. Looks like Mary Poppins flying through space, the absolute cold of space, and she's flying like Mary Poppins. Comes back to save herself. This scene, for myself and so many other people, we watched this, and they went too far. It got to the point where we said, I don't believe it. And now what happened is I went from being somebody who's just watching a movie and being excited, eating popcorn. Now I'm back to Ryan O'Donnell going, stupid. As soon as I do that, you've lost me. Now, maybe not for the whole movie, but that's a real struggle that the filmmakers need to have, is realize is that I have to keep my audience engaged by having sound storytelling. Even the most crazy, far-fetched adventures, you got to be careful about going too far. This is a famous example where Star Wars went too far with the Mary Poppins like Princess Leia. Not good. Anyway, so that's the same thing there. Moving on. So this is the big the issue that filmmakers have is, how do I have the audience believe in this crazy world? Because almost every one of those worlds that they create are going to be different from where I'm at now. Not all of them. Some of them take place. If you look at the movie Lady Bird, it's like Sacramento. And you're like, okay, I don't really need to make it suspend my disbelief, because they really shot it in Sacramento and it literally looks like that. So, but for the most part, I got to make you believe. And that means it could be anything, anywhere. And so that means that the filmmaker really has to go back and be a magician and focus on that word about illusions. And when I talk about illusions, these are the kind of illusions that they need to be able to focus on. How can I trick the people? And that's everything. We all think it's something else that we're going to talk about for special effects, but an illusion could be simply put a costume on. Like you saw for me, I want the illusion to think that I'm a creepy dude, because I'm not. And I put on the scary face for my little my spooky video. So I put on a costume. I noticed that you could look through the eyeballs and see the skin of my eyes, which didn't match. So I actually put some makeup on, all trying to be able to create the illusion of something else. And so these effects could be everything. It could be the costumes that you wear. It could be music. It could be where you shoot the thing, the location. It could be how well of it you're acting. You don't necessarily think about that, but actors are creating an illusion, right? That person is really not that person who is acting to be who he or she really is. They're doing something else. acting is an illusion, and even a musical score, the music that we listen to, creates an illusion of someplace or somewhere or sometime else. So take, for example, here's a Western movie, and take a look at this little GIF here and tell me if this Western film, they're creating an illusion. It was filmed in the 1980s, but it looks like it's the 1880s, 100 years before. Which of those are being used? Oh, I covered up myself. How about that one? There you go. Which ones? Costumes, music, makeup, acting, location? What do you think? The answer is actually all of them except one. And that's the musical score, because you can't hear anything, of course. Is there makeup in there? Well, like, yes, that actor didn't necessarily have that crazy mustache, and they probably had some makeup to be able to help with lighting and such and so forth. So all of these are designed to be able to help create the illusion. So that's that. What we really are thinking about when I say we're doing a lesson on special effects, we're not talking about makeup. We're not talking about somebody's a good actor. Usually talking about, special effects. What is a special effect? This is the field. Here's the definition of a special effect. It's creating a visual effect with these things: props, camera work. You can do tricks with the camera, and computer graphics, all designed to be able to trick the audience to believe in something else. Okay, got that? So we usually think it's just about computers, but it isn't necessarily just be computers, because guess what? How far back do special effects go? Check that out. 1902. Let's watch that again. Ready? 1902. There's the moon. That's what it really looks like. And bam, some people traveled to the moon, landed right in the moon's eye. Ladies and gentlemen, this was a groundbreaking film in 1902 called, and if you look up here, got a poster of it over there. You should take a look over there. See that? It's hard to see there. Hello. There you go. Georges Méliès, a French filmmaker. It's called A Trip to the Moon. Fix yourself. There you go. A Trip to the Moon, 1902. And this wasn't the first one, but basically filmmakers have been doing special effects for a long, long time, trying to trick the audience. People watch this, and much like I mentioned, remember the Lost World, the dinosaur film? That was 1920 something. People watch this, blew their mind, and like, what the heck? Is this what the moon? There's really a guy in the moon? Fantastic story. Completely silent film. We'll talk more about that later. But these are special effects. They've been around for a long, long time. So let's just jump into this. Here's the lesson, the group project that you're going to do. Is I'm going to put you into 6 groups. These 6 groups, I'm going to assign you one of these subjects: rear and front projection, matte, chroma key, CGI, motion capture, and compositing. You are then going to have to go out and do some research on the interwebs, boop, 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 find some stuff. I'll explain that in a second, and put it all in your whatever this thing is called, your homework, this Google Slides assignment. I'll talk to you later about how I'm going to be able to get those and put them in together so you can present. All of you will, as a team, you're going to be able to work. You can just work on one of them, but you're going to want to copy and paste the stuff that you do. So if there's 2 people, Tom and Jerry, let's say Tom is going to be working on his stuff, and then Jerry may work on Tom's as well, so you can share it with them. But then when it's done, Tom should share, and they can copy and paste. You follow me? It's relatively easy. Just have your stuff on both of them. Anyway, that's it. So I'm going to assign you one of these. I'll post it on Schoology, who your group members are going to be. And then you guys are going to work together in class on this. And you don't have to sit next to each other. You'll just be assigned them, and you guys can talk and decide, do some research on your own and start developing the Google slide doc. So now you're thinking about, what do I need to do? I got an example for you. No worries, people. Here we go. Walk you through. I'm going to do this first one. A visual effect, folks, could be puppets. Like, we play with puppets in class. Like, yeah. That's a special effect. It's pretty special because puppets have been around for a long time. So I'm going to show you. First thing is that you're going to have a slide that's going to have your title on there. Here's the title already been done for you. So you don't need to change that. So if you're doing matte, there's one called matte. Done. So you just go from here. What's the next thing I got to do? This. Oh, and I got to get out of here. So let me escape out of this thing here. So you should be able to see that. And there's my little Bitmoji, because I love my Bitmojis, explaining. Here is what the work that I did to teach you about puppets and animatronics. And I've wrote about here. Puppets have been around for a long time. They've been around 20th century. They were marionette puppets and strings. Then became out these things called animatronics, which are basically puppets that are controlled by a robot or controlled by strings or something else. Okay. You've known animatronics and things like Disneyland, but you see it in other stuff as well too. You're going to tell me all the stuff that you've learned here. You're going to write that stuff here. Mr. Bitmoji's telling you something. Do not copy and paste from Wikipedia or anything else. This is not, I don't need you to go teach me about puppets and animatronics. Learn yourself, people. You go out there, find about it. You guys decide who's doing what and talk about it and type it. This is crazy. Type in your own words, please. Too many times kids are copy and pasting. No, copy and paste. Type, type, type. Learn and type. Got it? You following me? So this is what mine would look like as I'm teaching you about puppets and animatronics, because the idea, if I want to have a make-believe animal, I can just have puppets, small ones for my hand or giant ones. So then what comes next here, everybody, is now I have some blank slides. These blank slides are going to be pictures, examples that you are going to show me and teach the class about your subject. So from here, I could say, oh, puppets. And notice what I've done here on the bottom. I have some notes to myself. And here it says, talk about how this person from the Muppets, a guy by the name of Frank Oz, was hired and was brought on board in Star Wars to be able to bring a character to life. And here is that character. He's called Yoda. And the idea about that they wanted to have such a different creature, that puppets are used to be able to develop a creature that is out of this world. And how well you can make it makes me suspend my disbelief and believe that there really is this little Yoda type creature. Funny story, we still don't know what species he is. Watch The Mandalorian, still no answers. He's just Yoda. Anyway, so you have pictures of your thing. You could do a couple pages of pictures. So here, talk about how, hey, guys, you know that puppets, they weren't just because we didn't have CGI stuff. Like here's some puppets from a movie in 1980 called Dark Crystal. They brought the thing back for Netflix. They're still doing puppets today, so puppets still exist. You want to do more? Look at this. Here's puppets from one of my favorite movies, Jurassic Park. Little finger puppets. Stick your finger in a little baby velociraptor. Puppets are used all the time. What about animatronics? Animatronics, everybody, are puppets that are done but not controlled with somebody's hand or a human inside there. They're done with wires that are connected that you can control from a remote. So the famous movie E.T. Was used as an animatronic. These are the things when you're in Pirates of the Caribbean or things like that. It's a Small World. Those are animatronics. Here's a great example. Like we'll talk how Jurassic Park was all of this crazy computer graphics, but look at this, everybody. Here's a great example of animatronics of a fake Triceratops. And actually that for kind of a puppet as well too, because there's humans inside here trying to push up, make it look like this thing is breathing, and then some animatronics to make it look like the eye is closing, all designed to create the illusion that there really is a Triceratops that's on the ground. Anyway, so I taught you a little bit about puppets and animatronics. That's what you're going to do, everybody. Now here's yours. If you've been assigned rear and front projection, you go to the slide. Then you are going to add your pictures, and I have this in here, everybody, which is this. It's the instructions for what you're going to do on this. You're going to research rear and front projection in movies. Research. We'll take you to Wikipedia and a bunch of other things. Some of them won't be very applicable. Some will help you very much. You just do some research on your own, and then you're going to ultimately put about 3 to 5 bullet points in your own words there. Remember, this needs to be your own words. Collaborate with your group so each will be responsible for writing parts of them. These are the things that you need to focus on. Tell me about what the effect is. Puppets have been around forever. It's somebody, human manipulating an object to make it look like it is another creature by using a human's hand or another part, their arms or their legs or something. Then you want to tell me the history behind it. Puppets have been around since the beginning of time, before storytelling, blah, blah, blah. And then have famous examples of them. And then those famous examples, by the way, are going to be used in your slides that are just the black theme, where you're going to be putting actual photographs or images of them. What I would recommend, if you're going to search for like, oh, I want to find a movie, Jurassic Park, but I want to see like the robots or the puppets behind it, then you would maybe want to sometimes put like on set. So like Jurassic Park on set or behind the scenes. Okay, is a tip to be able to do that for some of them. But that doesn't apply necessarily on some. For others, it may. So to think about how you search. By the way, all of this, don't keep any of this. You're going to highlight it all and delete, get rid of all that stuff. When you write your own, write your stuff here in your own words. Got it? So delete all of my stuff and put yours in there. So there should be none of that. And if you go back, let's take a look, see here. They're all on here. Matt, pictures, and then your descriptions and chroma key, CGI, and all that. Let me go back to it. You're basically going to go find your slides and add your stuff. If you have more pictures and you want to add more of them, feel free to just make more slides. Go to insert a new slide. Let me go back to our list here. There you go. So this is what you're going to be doing. I will assign one of these. And for right now, if you want to get ahead of the game, you could start searching for them and doing some research at home. But when you're in class, you're going to start putting this together and working with your partner. If you have any questions, don't need to ask me because you're going to be in class talking about it and working on it. Anybody, that's your lesson at home. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little bit about visual effects, special effects, suspension of disbelief, and I'll see you all in class. See you all.